Yep, hold on. Still chewing.
And well back 'em.
You're just gonna try and fuck that up more every time, aren't you?
I have no clue what you're talking about.
Oh look, more book titles. Seno Takumi, Professor Takeda's Dinner. Ethan Crow. Wow, that's a fucking combo breaker.
That came out of fucking nowhere.
An Insolent Woman. Shinonome Kazuma. You blew it, Amori. Though she reads a variety of genres and authors, it seems like the Sakaki family fundamentally likes whodunits. All 6 of these books she passed to me, 4 are mysteries.
I'll bet the pudding one is a mystery.
It is. Come to think of it, I could easily see Sakaki sitting in the detective's desk using her brains for a living. Flipping open one of the books, I speak towards the shadow of a nearby pillar.
He's speaking. What?
Makina,
Oh.
how long do you plan on hiding there?
That explains it.
Good.
Good. I'm not mad or anything. How about you come out?
How'd you know it was me?
Your aura is too crude. I can sense it even when you're hidden.
That's news to me.
I just said that for the hell of it. You were casting a shadow on the floor. I could tell it was you from the height of that shaggy head. The height of the shadow? Because as we all know, shadows reflect a person's exact height.
Well, I mean, you could probably
You can
determine-
figure it, yeah.
Yeah, from like the angle of the sun and stuff.
Seems a lot to calculate.
Maybe you're just stupid. So my stealth was the crude part?
Pretty much. Why were you hiding in the first place?
Guys, the xenomorphs are in Star Wars.
They are. You are correct. And they're not.
Oh my
even,
god.
They're just straight up xenomorphs.
I need this.
What are they called again? Are they
Wendell,
just called
keep on track.
No, they're just called xenomorphs.
Anyway, read your line.
Alright. I wasn't really hiding. I just kept quiet till you and Yumi-chan finished talking.
Because, you know, women should be seen and not heard. Kevin, please cut that.
No, in fact, Kevin, play it again.
Because, you know, women should be seen and not heard.
And then again.
Because, you know, women should be seen and not heard.
And then a third time.
Because, you know, women should be seen and not heard.
And now
Immediately regret that one.
And now make a song out of it.
He's gonna auto-tune it.
You don't get along with Sakaki?
I'm okay with her, you know, but I don't think Yumi-chan likes me much.
On the other hand, I'm pretty sure Sakaki said something like, I think Irusan avoids me on purpose. You're in a state of mutual wariness. Well, I suppose that does happen sometimes. Sakaki, a guarded person who doesn't reveal her thoughts easily, and Makina, who feels most secure when she's burrowed away in someone's heart. Their personal comfort zones may be incompatible. Well, it's foolish to expect everyone to get along. A long time ago, a guy I knew hated black people with a passion, and nothing anyone said could get him to change his mind.
What the fuck did you just bring that out of for no reason?
Sakaki Yumiko and Irisu Makina. So there's no need to forcibly put them together or push them together.
So which one's the black person?
It's actually Yumiko. But in their case, maybe a mutual compromise is called for. I don't think Sakaki dislikes you, Makina. So try not to hate her. So try not to hate her yourself.
Like I said, I'm okay with her. It's just, I don't know what to talk to her about.
Talk about her shiny knife.
It's very shiny. You saw that fucking, like, shiny streak it leaves when she slashes it at you? I see.
let me ask you instead. How the heck did he get so friendly with Cranky Yumi-chan?
Well, it's not like we're particularly close, but we have a common interest in books, so I guess that helped get things started. Of course, I get the idea Sakaki mostly views me as little more than a convenient book disposal. After all, it's hard to say you're friendly with someone who scowls so bluntly. It's just because your hands touch. I don't
And
think
someone who's tried to stab you on more than one occasion.
Machina? Oh, that's you. They're in.
Machina, do you have any hobbies? Come on,
Hobbies?
Skype.
I guess walking, maybe.
Solo?
Yeah, mostly by myself.
That's not good.
You fucking nerd!
Why not? Doesn't playing it by yourself sound kind of lewd? It's all good, yeah?
What? Did she just make a jerk-off joke?
She did! Huh. No, also, no.
Huh?
The company I work at, solitary hobbies are fundamentally discouraged. They place a lot of stress on keeping up some form of communication with others.
Guys, look at my link.
God damn it,
I refuse to talk about it.
let me see this. Uh-huh.
Just keep going.
Indeed. When it comes to the interest of employees, the basics are alcohol, women, and gambling, but it's difficult to own up to that in front of the boss.
What the fuck?
Therefore, when asked, some of them just come up with a safe-sounding, conventional hobby, like shogi or go.
What the fuck?
When the superiors reacted favorably to the answers, the end result was the hobbies column in the employees survey data recorded an overwhelming number of shogi buffs. So it did. Although going with the flow is pretty much the defining Japanese characteristic, it's still something of a pathetic story. Well, having given them a nice safe hobby like reading myself, I guess I can't really say too much.
They're reading erotic fan fiction.
Or perhaps
There.
writing erotic fan fiction.
That's how you put a twist on reading as a hobby.
Nothing, just talking to myself. Incidentally, once you're the one giving the surveys out, in other words, an executive type, the hobby of choice would be gardening, not something you can do when you're living out of a barracks.
Are hobbies that important?
Well, they keep me from homicide, so they've got to be somewhat important.
Yeah, it's better to have some interest, than not, even if they're really worthless. For example, the aforementioned employees and their wine, women, and song. Even then, if they could help find a single common interest with someone, your hobbies are worthwhile as a social lubricant. Even if they're
Did
worth
someone
even if they're
say
worthless in
lubricant?
every other. Yeah. This is something I heard secondhand from a senior employee at my job, but sometimes you get cases like this.
Can my hobby be lubricants?
Collecting various lubricants.
Testing various lubricants?
This is a story about a man who took a business trip to the Gifu prefecture. It was a group expedition with the purpose of field testing new equipment that had been deployed throughout his company. We're driving along. At that time, the man in question was a new employee, not even out of the training period. Nonetheless, he found himself taking a long, bumpy ride into the mountains on a company bus, accompanied by the chef of his special department. The man didn't have the first clue why he had been selected for the trip, let alone what he'd been expected to do what he'd been expected to do on it. To make matters worse, he was sitting next to a powerful superior he barely knows. In short, the man was about ready to vomit from sheer terror and anxiety. He fought desperately to keep calm, but his face was pale as a sheet. When the bus finally reached its destination at the foot of Mount Kinka, in the Gifu, after many unpleasant hours, but the man was but the man's relief was temporary, as his boss informed him that they would be attending a large banquet in a high-class inn that night. Corporate banquets are basically a cruel kind of talent show. New employees were expected to perform some skill for the amusement of the gathered VIPs. Newbies from each department mounted the stage, one after another. Quite a few croaked out popular karaoke ballads with stiff faces. But there were also some pretty competent juggling acts.
Does aggressive Kegel exercises count as a skill?
Sure. Even one stand-up comedy duo, which got some laughs during doing imitations of the superiors, and then they were both promptly fired. The man watched the other acts with a fluttering heart. His turn was approaching fast, but he was basically a walking, breathing lump of artistic incompetence. An asocial type without a single talent worth performing in front of others. Just as he was wondering whether or not he could escape by pretending a sudden illness, the man was practically kicked out onto the stage by senior employees for the lack of a better thought. He started to sing. But the man who didn't know any popular songs, worse, he couldn't remember any of the standard songs or children's music that might have worked in a pinch. The man went instead with the theme song of a superhero TV show, Lightspeed General Daimakarov, yeah, which he'd loved as a kid. By this point, he couldn't help but feel a growing sense of despair. This way, of course, the man's first time singing in public, and he didn't have too much of a voice. Within moments, he was showered with jeers from the audience. Showered in jeers. The hell are you singing? What's with you? Hey, asshole! Are you just making that up on the spot? That's enough! Get off the stage! You suck! Although he wasn't the type to break down in tears, the man felt a deep urge to dig himself into a hole and crawl into it. Only sheer stubbornness carried him through the last humiliating note. When it was over, the man quickly bowed to the stage and raced back to his seat. On the walk back from the stage, the man had a thought. I wish I'd learned a popular song or two.
So if he'd been singing karaoke as a hobby, he wouldn't have gotten embarrassed.
Well, if you look at it that way, you're right. But the story isn't over yet. With the equipment test wrapped up, the man had returned to his new assignment branch at the office of Shizuka. Shizuka, yeah. Someone called out to him as he was dealing with the transfer paperwork. Who wants to voice this random dude?
So you were the newbie who sang Daimakarov at the banquet in Gifu?
The man's breath caught in his throat. He figured out he'd been by now that the main job of his superiors was to flaunt their authority by picking the smallest mistakes and rubbing his nose in them. I hear a heartbeat. Last time I heard this, Sal had a heart attack.
Oh boy, are we having a heart attack?
And the manager speaking to him was infamous for his zealous leadership of his underlings. Frankly, the man was about ready to piss his pants. He swallowed and chewed his lip. Bitter thoughts running through his head. What's he going to blame on me? How long will I have to grovel? But the manager's words took him by surprise.
I loved that show when I was a kid.
The man blinked, dumbfounded by the unexpected development. You from Hiroshima, kid?
God damn it, you stole my line!
According to the manager, Daimakarov reruns were played relentlessly every weekend after he grew up on the local station. Practically every child in Hiroshima grew up watching the show. But the man wasn't a Hiroshima native. In the area he lived in as a child, the Children's Encore Theater program would broadcast old episodes of the show every summer. He just happened to see a few. Even then, the manager had been really pleased to find a fellow Daimakarov fan. as he began to pull the strings to the man's benefit. One night after work, the man returned to his bed in the company dorm to find a white plastic bag that had been tucked underneath the sheets of his neatly made bed. I don't remember putting it there. He didn't remember putting it there himself, and when he asked around, nobody had any idea where it had come from. The bag contained a huge jelly roll and a cup of instant ramen. As a new employee, the man had to eat dinner at a set time, 5 p.m. By 10 p.m., lights out time at the dorm. All of the trainees would be starving. This supplemental meal was therefore a very considerate present. The man had an idea who was responsible, most likely. His Demakarov buddy at the top was be the only one who could have pulled this off. On top of the early dinner time, learning the ropes as a trainee is particularly tiring. His Demakarov buddy had probably figured he could have had a hard time getting his young body to fall asleep on an empty stomach. The man actually didn't have a particularly big appetite and wasn't the type to be troubled by irregular meals, but then again, as a new employee, he didn't have much money he could spend freely on snacks and such. A little sugar was extremely welcome. If I get caught, they'll get punished too. So the man split the smuggled food with the other trainees in his room. They all devoured their shares greedily. As the presents from his Demakarov buddy, at the time they were known as the Demakarov supply drop, continued, the talentless, quiet, and hobbyless triple threat contender for the asocial crown suddenly found himself getting along with the group in his dorm, all thanks to the Demakarov connection. And 3 months later, when the man's training period came to an end, it was once again his Demakarov buddy whose recommendation got him assigned to the Chiba branch of the office he had hoped for. In other words, when it comes to hobbies and interests, anything is fine. Finding friends you can talk about some common interests with is really a valuable thing. Sometimes something that small would be a trigger for gaining a huge leg up in life.
Are we a fucking 80-year-old retiree? What is with these long, drawn-out goddamn stories?
Ooh, I don't really get it. That Makarov kind of sounds like the macaroon. I'm really hungry.
Is that what you fucking got from that Machina?
Please tell me we're near the end of the episode, because I'm getting pretty done.
Oh, we have 4 minutes left.
That story really drained me, I'm not gonna fucking lie. I'm angry at it.
I thought this was a pretty meaningful story. I guess it didn't quite get across.
Basically you're saying I should try stuff out and expand my interest instead of playing dolls or wandering around by myself all the time.
Well, more or less. When you're young, you should mess with all sorts of things. Just try to find something that grabs you, even if it's stupid crap.
Like making useless videos on the internet.
Yes.
How about you, Oni-chan? Got anything? Got a whole
Oni-chan! Oni-chan!
After all that spacing out, that's a pretty sharp question. I glanced down towards the pile of borrowed books I'm holding in my hand. I suppose right now I don't do anything other than reading that qualifies.
I want a jelly roll.
She is a fucking 6-year-old.
In defense, I also want a jelly roll.
I mean, fair point. You aren't actually listening to a word I say, are you? Well, not to say that you need to.
Because you're basically a fucking retiree rambling.
But the word jelly roll in the story just now got me jonesing for something fierce. Oh, and the macaroon man.
What is up with the way she talks? Jonesing for something fierce, or jonesing something fierce?
I can't tell if she's 8 or 80.
Go get
88.
a money to make something. Yeah, she's 88.
Okay, yeah.
There's the answer.
An excellent suggestion. Oni-chan, come to Amane's room later, okay? Let's have snacks together.
Yeah, if I'm in the mood.
Oni-chan!
Every time Alex does that, have my finger on the button ready to kick him.
Oni-chan!
Duh.
Oni-chan!
You're gonna fuck things up, Alex.
Oni-chan!
Well,
Okay then, see ya.
I couldn't resist. I couldn't resist. It came back, I can see.
I see. I learned my own lesson from this conversation. If there's a mention of food in the middle of a story, Machina won't remember another word. I'll have to be more careful next time. School dormitory, Yuji's room. During my middle school days in America, I got a number of strange nicknames from my classmates. Mainly because none of them could be bothered to remember my a Japanese name.
And you were a little